Hi all. What's the worst part of plywood epoxy building, boat building? Sanding. It's the sanding that gets to me. I can't sand anymore. I'm just driving me bonkers, man. The sanding. So we're not sanding that much. We prime over the epoxy. So here you go. Epoxy today and prime today. Speak about that later. Welcome, Balkan Shipyards. HAVAYA 3025, 1 force 213. That's the armor. Start working on it in a day or two. Just have to put in a couple bulkheads, deck it, and put on the places where I hold the anchors onto. So try and get this armor done in a week. Fiberglass it with 80 gram epoxy. That's the stuff. 80 gram glass. That's what I use on all my boats. I've used this outside. Under the waterline I'll go double glass, 80 gram. And then above the waterline and the deck itself I will do only 80 gram once. That's all the blue on make or break is glass with this stuff. I pull him on the beach, I park him on the beach, I do what I want, I leave him in the water for 2 weeks at a time. No problem at all. Same thing over there. So over here we're going 80 gram on the bottom, because I will do the whole thing with 80 grams, and then up to above the waterline I'll add on another 150 on top of that. Okay, so here we are. This is the vaka. We got a Leepod. I just did this today. Screwed it in, thickened the epoxy all the way, wet it out real good, wet out the ply and the stringers, wet them all out with clear epoxy, and then thickened the epoxy big time. And then I primed it immediately. I didn't wait. This is an adhesion test of epoxy primer and epoxy. So I've got over here paint first, which means I first painted with epoxy paint primer over here, and then immediately half an hour later I put on just clear epoxy. Over here I got the other way, which is what I might be doing on the boat, which is epoxy first onto the wood, and then on top of the wet epoxy I gave it half an hour, but it was still tacky. I put the primer on top, epoxy primer. Now let's do an adhesion test and see if we got a bond between the two materials. So you take a knife, yeah, and the thing that must be, what you must do is cut a lot of small squares. So cut. Okay, cutting. I'm zigzagging it at 45 degrees, 90 degrees, so there's a lot of small little squares over here. Okay, I'll do the other side the same. Okay, so that's done. Now take duct tape. It must be a very strong tape. Okay, then we got a piece of duct tape. Okay, so I'm sticking it over the epoxy first and then the primer on top. Stick it down really well. Okay, and then you got to pull back on a 45-degree angle fast, just like that. Okay, I'm very happy with this bond. Nothing has come off, nothing. There's just a few lines, but that's the dust of the cuts themselves. So that's a real good bond. So Painting with the epoxy primer over epoxy works well. The same thing, perfect, real good. There's the squares, there's no delamination of a full square pulling off. So that means there's a real good bond between the two materials this side. Okay, now we do the other one. Which would be epoxying over the paint itself. So let's say I've painted a section in a boat and then I want to epoxy something, I don't know. What would happen? Glue it on real good, make sure it's on there, okay? And pull back on a 45-degree angle. Fast. The same thing, even better. Very, very good bond. So the epoxy bonds to this primer perfectly well. Nothing's coming off. If there was a problem, then a full square would just delaminate and come off onto the tape itself, but that's not happening. Actually, that's a real good bond. Let's do the paint over the epoxy one more time. Nothing. Perfect. There's just the dust between the cuts. Really good. I'm really happy with this. Here's the vaka itself. Show you what's going down. Fiberglass bottom over here, including the chine log. Bottom and chine log glassed, and then I just painted the whole thing. But that I sanded because that was when I was old and not so clever. Now I'm new and clever, so I don't sand anymore. I've had enough of sanding. Okay, and then here's the vaka itself. Whoa! So this floor's been glassed. I'll have to sand it because I wasn't clever. This floor hasn't been glassed, only painted. One coat epoxy primer and 3 coats of the polyurethane acrylic on top. These compartments on Make or Break I got the same. They're going to have holes letting the waves out, letting the water out. This one takes the sheet of the junk rig. Then I'll take a handheld compass, a binoculars, a radio, my handheld radio, a bottle of water, whatever. Just all the little junk you throw into that one, and then this one takes the sheet only. Nothing must be where the sheet is, because when you go let the sheet fly, you don't want anything getting in the way, you don't want any jammings, you want the sheet to fly. Sheet and stuff. Little hatch over there. Here's my main hatch, 60 by 60. Here's my steps. You like my steps? I love my steps. So, woohoo. Anyway, okay, so just little pieces, they're good enough. Just my heel lands on them and I go down. And then there's going to be a plywood bed that lifts up to here. Okay, and then that's going to be, there's a plywood cap going to be epoxied onto that and a hole inside. So then that's for luggage, that section. And then this one is a lifting bed. Chick, 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 chick. So when it's down, you sleep, and you sleep according to where you're going. If you're going to windward, you sleep in the front. If you're going downward, you sleep in the back. I'm going to really try and get a floor to balance. I got all kinds of ideas about how I can turn my junk rig between the hulls. I've done it, and it works on Make or Break. But I've done it only on the beach. I didn't do it in the sea, which was just worked out like that. I don't know. So anyway, hope to go sailing with Make or Break maybe soon, and I'll test how it works in the sea. But the Lashan can turn around and go between the hulls. You just have to move the sheets. You just have to put new sheeting points, and the sail can work in the middle. So if I can get the sail in the middle between the two hulls, then my CE is between the hulls, and then you're like a train on rails, okay? You're like a catamaran or whatever, you know. You're two hulls flying downwind with the CE in the middle of the hulls, not on the side, pushing the boat towards the armor, turning the boat around the armor. So if you move the CE, and if I manage to load the back heavy, I might be able to balance this boat with sheet to tiller and then just sail free. No power, no nothing, just balance this boat. I hope I manage. If I don't manage, then I'll figure out something else, but we'll manage something to do. So here's the Leepod, guys. Nice. I like its size. This is oversized Leepod. This is an XL Leepod, extra large. I don't think you can go too big. You can go too heavy, but I don't think you can go too big. But then big and heavy go together, so you have to be careful how big you go. Yeah. And this is the boat, guys. Pretty happy. I'm going to start, I've got to get this bed inside. I've got to close this cap over here, and on the other ones I can put on the deck libs. Going to be two deck libs over here. And then I start decking from here all the way onto there. So then the strength of the Leepod will be from coming also from the deck, because you'll have to tear this deck for this Leepod to fall. And when you're lifting this Leepod, when the boat lies on it and the Leepod wants to lift, then there's compression of the deck going that way. But because this boat has a curved profile, the profile is curved. Yeah, the shear clamp goes in a curve. It goes up and then it goes down. So you got a curved thing like this. A curved thing like this doesn't bend. It's much stronger. It's all about curvy shapes, you know. You got to keep the curviness in the business. Otherwise, there's not much news. Yeah. Balkan Shipyards. We hope to launch October. I don't know. There's a lot to do. Nobody's helping me. I'm all by myself. I started in the end of March. Now we're beginning of 7. So it's 4, 5, 6. 4, 5, 6 in 3 months. Let's say 3.5 months. I've come to where I am at, all alone. So I don't know, maybe I'm proud of myself, maybe I'm not, I don't know. I wish I could have been further. I thought I'd be further ahead, but there's a lot to do. And it's the sanding that's killing me. So this technique now I'm happy with. And I might keep working this way all the time. I want to see tomorrow how things work over here. I'll scratch it up a little bit, I'll stick on some sticky tape, I'll do some tests. If I'm good, then this is the method now. This, for example, has all been glassed on the inside 80 grams. It all has to get sanded now. The whole floor has to get sanded. All these fillets inside have to get sanded. You know what? When you start sanding, you say to yourself, oh, I'll be finished in 3 or 4 hours. But it takes till the next day, because when you go to sand in all the little corners and stuff, you're not sanding the surface. Half the times you're not comfortable, you know. Half the times, like when I was sanding the bows down there, that I was with my head in and my feet up in the air like that. And I was doing it for, I don't know, it took about an hour to do that. And I'm head down, legs in the air. It was extreme. And that's the shit of this boat building, this type, okay? So we're going to try and eliminate as much as we can. And if it works, then good for us. Guys, take care, keep shunting. Balkan Shipyards, all the best. HAVAYA 3025, 1 force, 213.